as we have discussed about sorting and filtering, and we have one more operation, that is the other data operations which is there. Now, what is about the other data operations? So, other data related task is what we are going to study. In terms of understanding the other data related tasks, we will be understanding what is a text to column feature. Now imagine that in a cell you have been given multiple values. Let's say value 1, comma value 2, comma value 3, comma value 4, and so on. And what you wanted to do is you wanted to convert each comma separated value into a new column. So there is a text in a cell which you want to convert into a new column. So for that particular operation, Excel provides us the way to do it. So the way to do it is text to column feature, which is possibly available to us in terms of Excel. Now text to column wizard helps to separate simple cell content, as I gave you an example, which was value 1, value 2, value 3, so on, into multiple cells specified by a delimiter. Now what's a delimiter over here? Delimiter is nothing but a separator. Now when we call a separator is being used, imagine that I mentioned you value 1, comma, value 2, comma, value 3. So the each value which I am mentioning is separated by a comma. So comma is acting as a delimiter or a separator between each element into the value. Now imagine for the next thing. Now imagine that let's take one more example and let's consider a name. Now obviously when we write first name and last name, we give a space within it. So space is acting as a delimiter for us. So if you can see, such as first names and last names which are separated by a space, so that space is acting as a separator or a delimiter which will help me to separate my names into different columns. So a delimiter option or the separator option or a text to column feature is available to us in a data ribbon, and we will do the task accordingly. So if I show you with an example, if you can see that there are certain names which are given to us in that image and they are separated by a space. And we will open the text to column wizard and do certain operations. Now, instead of understanding this over here, let's try to practically see that how does it works. So if I go into my data sheet, you can see there is a column named as full name. And in this full name, you can see that there is a first name, there is a last name, and then there is a space with which each name has been separated. Now, what do I want to do? I want to convert a text to column feature. Now, what it will do, that the first name would be separated in one column and the second name would be separated by the another column. But this separation will happen with the respect of space, because space is a delimiter or a separator over here. So how we can proceed is, we will select this. Now, as you know that we can use shortcut keys. So Alt, when you press Alt, you can see there are lots of options available to us. So in Alt, we have to go in Data tab. So you can see that we went into the Data tab, and in Data tab, there is text to column feature available to us. So if I go Alt, then the Data tab, T, and then we have V. So over there, I'll repeat this. So if you can see, we have shortcut for doing this operation for converting the data from text to columns. So in order to do the shortcut, what I will do is I'll first press Alt. Now when I press Alt, you can see that a value or a number is associated with each tab. Obviously, this operation which is available to us, that is text to column, will be considered from data tab. So I'll consider A over here. So when I go to A, that is a data tab, in the data tools, we can see a text to column feature. And to reach that text to column feature, we have to press an E. So when I do this, this text to column wizard dialog box is available to us. Let's try to do further. So we can do it with the help of shortcut keys available, or you can directly go into the data tab. Let's say I'm in home, you can directly go to the data tab and you can see data tools as a group. Now, as I have mentioned earlier, that ribbon groups or the data tools group will help me to do data related operations. Now in this data tools option, you can see that text to column feature is available to us. Now what it will do, it will split the text which is available into multiple columns on the basis of a separator. So I'll go to text to column features, and a dialog box or a wizard is available to us. In that we can see that you have two options. First is delimited width and the second is fixed width. Now let's go with delimited because we want to separate it on the basis of separator. So if I go next, you could see that a tab related approach is available to us. You could see that by default, this is an approach which is available to us. Now you don't see that the data is separated, because in the data preview option, you could see if you use any separator, the data will show that how it will be looking, the preview of the data or the view of the data before those changes happen. Now tab in general is a tab space. Now the text or the value which I am wanting to separate or convert into columns is not separated by a tab space. So because of that, the data preview is not showing me multiple columns in general. Now if I unselect the tab, if I press semicolon, obviously the separator over here, the delimiter over here is not a semicolon, and because of that the separation has not yet happened. Now if I select a comma, once again the text which I am using is not separated by comma, so it will not convert from text to columns. But let's say we have a space, obviously my data or the values are separated from each other with the element of space. And when I selected the space as an element, you can see in the data preview there are two columns being created. First is John with respect to the first name, and the next is Smith with respect to last name, and the values are proceeded further. So as I discussed that in my data or in my content which I am sharing, there is a space which is separating the values or separating the text into multiple columns, and we can possibly see in the data preview that how does it looks. Now others is a customized version. Let's say I don't have anything. Let's say someone has selected or separated the data with the respect of hyphen, semicolon, or exclamation mark, question marks, hashtags, and so on. So based on this other operation, I can give multiple new such of separators or delimiters over here. But as of now, we have stick to space. We have to stick to space. So if I go next, you could see that general, the data type remains general over here. You want text. We also have date related operations, and then do not import. So that's there. Let's say I select text, and you could see destination. Destination is B1. So what it does, by default, if you select like this and do finish, you could see that the data already exists. And if I do OK, there are two new columns being created. First is full name and the next is name, because at the same place I wanted that delimiter to act. So this is how I can do with the basic approach, but let me do it again and let's try to create new columns for this. So I'll do Control Z. What I'll first do is I'll select over here and if I select over here and I do Control Shift plus, so it's adding a column over here, but I don't want it over here, so I can do Control minus. I'll select this. I want two more columns to be added. So Control plus is a shortcut key to add columns. If someone is not having a plus key separately, you can use Control Shift plus. So I'm using Control Shift plus, so you can see one column being added. I'm using again, so another column. Let's say I'll write first name, and let's say I write something called as last name. So over here, I want this whole name to be separated as a first name and the last name, which are separated by a space. So how I could do, same thing I'll do, Control Shift down arrow key to select the entire range of cells. I'll go to the data tab. Data tab mein there is an option of text to columns. We'll select the delimited. Next. Now obviously it is separated by space, so I've selected space, and then I go next. Now instead of adding a destination at same place, now it's B2, I don't want it at same place, so I'll go over here and you can see destination is this, because I want to create this text to column feature over here. The answer needs to be separated over here. So I select this and I do finish. You could see that the existing data still remains the same, but a separated elements are added into the another columns which are possibly available to us. So this is how we can use text to column feature in order to convert a text element into multiple columns separated by a delimit. Now, for an example, I can show you different use cases for this. Now imagine that I have certain products, say milk, sugar, ice cream, coffee, which is available to me. Let me increase the width. Milk, sugar, ice cream, coffee, then tea, chocolate, and let's say I take coffee, tea, milk. I took this. So if you can see in an example, this is a text. I want to convert each element which is after a comma into another column. So how I will do? The same thing which we'll do. I'll select this and we have the shortcut key, that is Alt A, and we have to go to E. So when I go over here, you can see the data text to column wizard is available to us. When I do next, now it's not separated by space. So you can see a data preview is not possibly available to us. The data preview, if you can see, if you select a space, it's not possible there. When I select a tab, no preview is available, no changes happening into columns. Semicolon, no. But if I select something such as comma, you could see that each element is separated by comma and a new column is being created over here. So I do next. Now if I want to do it at the same place, I'll do it, or I can select the next destination. I do it over here and I do finish. You could see that it has finished the certain values, and the elements which were possibly available over here, which were separated by commas, that has been converted into new columns. Similarly, we can do, let's say, the book belongs to me. And here, if you can see, there are delimited, which is a hyphen, which is not possibly available to us in terms of the by default delimited elements which are there. So I'll select this and I go in data tab. Similarly, text to columns, delimited. Next, now I cannot select a tab. No preview is available to us. No semicolon, you can see, no semicolon related approach. No comma separated, you can see the preview still remains the same. The data is not separated, not even with space. I'll go with others. And what's the other element to me? Once I give that hyphen, you could see that data has been separated. A vertical line has been added, which means each element after a comma is being separated over here. And I do next. So where do I want? Let's say I don't change the destination. So you can see the text which I wrote, so each element was separated by a hyphen, and with respect to the hyphen, the elements are being separated over here. So this is how text to column feature works. So if you have multiple text stored in one particular cell separated by certain delimiters, and if you want to convert those values into a column format, you can use this text to column feature which is available to us in terms of Excel. So this was all about the text to column feature which we can use and utilize in order to separate the text into multiple columns.
Like this video, subscribe to our channel and comment on the concept you want to learn next.